after that be omitted with a view to substituting other words. The honourable member for Griffith has now moved as an amendment to that amendment that all words after House be omitted with a view to substituting other words. The question now is that the amendment moved by the honourable member for Griffith to the amendment moved by the honourable member for Fowler be disagreed to. The member for Canberra.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And I rise to speak today in support of this incredibly important legislation that will make a huge difference to the lives of Australians. And I am incredibly proud to be part of a Labor government who are again delivering on an election commitment central to what we took to the last election, and that was about the importance of housing to the dignity, security and health and prosperity of all people. And that is why this was such an important part of the platform we took to the last election, and that we are delivering on it with urgency in this place. And I would hope that this would be something that every member of this House would be supporting, because I think that every member of this House, if they're engaging with their electorate, they would be hearing about the struggles that Australians are having with housing. Housing costs, homelessness, high rents. I certainly hear a lot about that in my electorate of Canberra right here, where we have some of the highest rents in the country and very high housing prices. But as I said, Labor understands that how central housing is and to the people's lives, and we have already unlocked up to $575 million from the National Housing Infrastructure Facility to invest in new social and affordable homes. Despite being in government for less than a year, we've already helped more than 1,700 Australians buy their first home through the regional First Home Buyer Guarantee, which was only introduced in October. And I want to congratulate Minister Collins on her important work in this vital space, and she's clearly hit the ground running. We must be clear here, this is a matter of urgency, because for many Australians, the great Australian dream of owning their home is just that, a dream, and far out of reach. And sadly, too many Australians are facing or experiencing homelessness, and we need to do much better on this. And that's why Labor's ambitious housing reform agenda is so important and long overdue, because Australians deserve to have a safe and affordable place to call home. For 10 years, we have watched as this crisis has got worse and those opposite floundered. The best solution they could come up with was to force first-home buyers to raid their superannuation to put down that ever-growing deposit. A policy which would increase demand without any increase in supply. That was not the correct approach. When Labor won the election, we promised we wouldn't waste a day in government, and we haven't wasted time in delivering on this ambitious housing agenda. The housing legislation package will build more social and affordable homes. It will increase supply. It will be the most significant Australian government investment in housing in a generation. And that is why it is remarkable that anyone in this place is not supportive of this. The legislation implements the government's commitment to establish a $10 billion Housing Australia Future Fund to guarantee a pipeline of new social and affordable housing for Australians in need. It will transform the National Housing Finance and Investment Corporation into Housing Australia as the national home for key housing programs and expand its activities. It will establish the National Housing Supply and Affordability Council to provide independent advice to government on ways to increase housing supply and affordability. These commitments are part of our broader housing reform agenda. We've already reached a landmark National Housing Accord, a shared ambition to build 1 million well-located homes over 5 years from 2024, with $350 million in additional Commonwealth funding to deliver 10,000 affordable homes over 5 years from 2024, matched by the states with another 10,000 homes. We've widened the remit of the National Housing Infrastructure Facility, made up to $575 million immediately available to invest in social and affordable housing, and developing a national housing and homelessness plan to set short, medium and long-term goals to improve housing outcomes across Australia. And this is an incredibly important piece of this puzzle, a long-term strategy and something we didn't see under a decade of the previous government. We've implemented the regional First Home Buyer Guarantee, and we're implementing the Help to Buy program, which will reduce the cost of buying a home and help more people into a home sooner. These reforms are going to end a decade of neglect that got us into this position, and we need urgent action on the housing crisis. And as I said, I think every member of this House should be supporting this legislation, and I think that is what their constituents who are battling with the costs of housing in Australia today would want them to do. Thank you.
The question now is that the amendment moved by